We're just days away from the SRC election here at the University of Pretoria, and we've gathered a couple of candidates from each portfolio to have their last say, the last opportunity for them to truly showcase themselves before you, the voter, the student body, get to have your voice heard on Wednesday. Good afternoon, I'm your host, Khofatso Magola, and this is the SRC election debate for the portfolio Study Finance, powered by MCA, the Elections Management and Consulting Agency of Africa. The Study Finance portfolio, if you may not know, represents the SRC's voice in the allocation of financial aid, as well as bursary systems for bursary programs for students. Allow me to introduce our candidates for this debate. On your left, we're joined by Itumeleng Mogale, and next to him, we're joined by Lungisani Ngubeni. Thank you both for taking time to participate in this debate. A few ground rules before we begin, just so that you're eased into it. Please ensure that you're respectful throughout the debate. No discrimination of any kind will be tolerated. And a question will be posed to each and every one of you, of which you'll be able to respond to the question, and then your candidate is able to rebut to your response and possibly add their input to that question as well. For time reasons, please try to keep your responses to the questions as short and concise as possible. And let's try our best not to interrupt each other, as we'll all have the opportunity to speak. Seems pretty simple, right?
Yes.
Let's get right into it. I think I'm going to begin with you, Itumeleng.
Okay.
The ongoing challenges with NSFAS have been quite hectic, right? It's an issue that affects so many students all across the country, more specifically students within the University of Pretoria, of which we now have students having delayed allocations of their allowances, among other issues as well. What practical solutions do you plan to propose if you're elected within this portfolio of study finance?
Well, thank you for the question. Like the presenter has announced, my name is Itumeleng Mogale. Well, I believe I've answered this question in my manifesto, so please pardon me if I will be quoting it a lot. But if you were not aware or were not there, I talked in my manifesto, as I will quote, late NSFAS disbursement, leaving students hungry without books and stressed. I believe the commencement of academic year should entail the beginning of the financial year also. Right now, we all know the struggle. Imagine a student traveling from Eastern Cape with only probably 1.5, and 1,000 of that has to go to transport and food, maybe on the way, 1.1 already spent. So meaning they arrive in Pretoria with only 400. And that 400 is expected to survive the student from February until early March, with no allowance, no laptop, no books, and sometimes even no food. This year, classes started earlier than the previous years, but NSFAS still pays late, meaning students literally start their academic journey on empty stomachs. And while we have programs like SNAP, many of us knows the delay of the SNAP program. The unanswered email, I for one know that I have tried to email them, but I only received an automated response that says NSFAS funded students seeking temporary assistance will be assessed individually and support will be provided based on the availability of resources. So this is not sustainable. Students cannot eat automated emails. The practical and immediate measures I propose: one, as I've also proposed in my manifesto, the SRC Finance Help Desk. This is a one-stop desk for agent support with emergency accommodation, food insecurity, registration support for those with historical debt and/or registration fee. Two, SRC food parcels. Unlike SNAP, students in crisis must not wait weeks or days. We must have a stock of food parcels in our office ready to be given out immediately and with dignity. Three, registration protection, meaning no student's offer should be revoked simply because they cannot make an initial payment like we saw this year, January, with the first years of 2025. Financial stress must never be the reason someone drops out of University of Pretoria. As I wrote in my manifesto, money should never be the barrier between you and your degree. Long-term measures, Firstly, early funding clarity. Before the year starts, every student should know their their NSFAS status, so that you can plan in time or secure interim support or go out and try to find an alternative plan. And the appeal system, which must be efficient, with a turnaround time that is quick and made before the academic year commences. If it means they need to hire more people, that's even better, because it will be also addressing the high unemployment rate we have in South Africa, and thus will prevent my second point, which is mid-year defunding. No mid-year defunding must find expression ever again. Together with the management, the SRCs from other universities and national structures, different national structures, I will push to stop the practice of defunding mid-year of the students. I will also push for, which is my third long-term measure, the decentralization of NSFAS offices. NSFAS offices must be decentralized, meaning that they must exist in each and every province, district, and thus close to each and every institution, so that students can get help as quick as they can, rather than calling NSFAS and not getting any response. And yeah, because sometimes when you try to call NSFAS, they'll tell you are the number 1,000 caller, you have to wait while you are hungry and you are in a mess. So in closing, I would say our duty as leaders is to make sure no students at the University of Pretoria studies on an empty stomach or sleeps in the library because of the delays we can fix. Financial stress should never write anyone out of the classroom. I thank you.
Lungisani, you've heard some of the things that Itumeleng has raised. Do you think these are practical solutions to actually address this problem of NSFAS often releasing some of the allowances of students late?
Thank you very much. I believe that, yes, my brother did actually mention a couple of few solutions that may actually work. But now I'm actually worried when it comes to SNAP, when we say that we need to have food parcels that are available for the students, and they need to be within the offices of the SRC. So now the question is, what are we saying about the student's dignity? Because how come can you say that a student can come and say, and I will be able to give that student a food parcel, then that same student will be attending the very same class with that student. So how will that student be able to face me? How about the dignity of that student, that particular student? So it is somehow, I find it distressing. That is how I'm saying that we actually have to work very closely with SNAP, so that SNAP, they can be an agreement between the SRC and the scheme to say that we need, more especially when food allowances, monthly allowances, and our book allowances have not yet been released, that to say, let us do the very same thing that happened this year, to say, we haven't received our NSFAS allowances, therefore let us also be eligible to get those food parcels until we get our allowances. So I believe that you just have to come to an agreement and with the SNAP program to say that allow our students to have a provision of food while waiting for their allowances.
Itumeleng, you seem to have a response to what Lungisani has just said.
Yes, I do. You are right. I think when I was doing my manifesto for secretary, I did speak about transparency and confidentiality. Although what I was trying to address when I said at least we must have food parcels ready in our SRC offices is such that when SNAP program is taking time to respond, because they also receive high volume of applications, and as such, us having some food parcels ready, we can help them to address some of the food shortages that the students may experience while they're waiting for their responses. But if it means we need to assist the SNAP program, that's what we're willing to do, just to ensure that we leave no student behind. Because the SNAP program, I for one say, is not efficient enough. And we as an SRC must or can contribute to its efficiency. That's my take.
Lungisani, I want to probe you on something. We often speak about NSFAS, and we often speak about students who are receiving funding from NSFAS, or students who are included within bursaries, for example. Although there's this growing term called the missing middle that has become quite prominent now within the university environment, of which a lot more students are falling into the missing middle category and are not able to receive funding like other students. How do you plan to address this, or how do you plan to help those students who unfortunately fall under the missing middle?
Okay. So for the missing middle, I believe that when we come as the SRC and say that the first payment with the registration fees, they need to be scrapped away, or they should be an agreement between the students or the person responsible for the fees of the student to say, we can be able to pay monthly. For example, we can be able, the 10,000 registration fee that we currently have, to say we can pay monthly, a bit by bit, until we are able to cover the whole cost. Then I also mentioned in my manifesto that in order to make sure that we tackle such issues of the missing middles and those who are actually defunded and do not have funding, a student aid, I used to call it a Bible, will be published and be made available to all the students to say, if you are looking for financial assistance, you can be able to approach these particular sponsors, these particular bursaries, for the students to be able to be funded accordingly.
Itumeleng, you've heard what Lungisani has said in terms of addressing the issue of the missing middle. What do you make of that? Do you think that that is enough to address this issue?
Not necessarily exactly. Well, I believe in free education for all. That is to say, because higher education, I think it shouldn't be made a privilege determined by one's parents' income, their choices or cultural background. The current NSFAS threshold, where students whose parents earn more than 350K do not qualify, is deeply unfair. According to me, I think it's really unfair, and I'll substantiate. These are the people that fall within the missing middle and above. So, firstly, household realities. What if parents earn more than the threshold, but are reckless with how they spend their money, are drowning in debt, or outright refusing to support their child's education? Their child's education. Many young women many young women out there, there are some that are still, let me say some young women out there are still subjected to that thing of you are a woman, you cannot go to school, us investing in your education, we're just going, it's like we're investing in another family's thing because you're going to benefit their family. And thus, even if they're from families that can afford to pay for them, do not pay for them, and NSFAS does not does not agree to pay for them. Secondly, multiple dependents. We know that I think the system ignores that some families often have multiple children in the university. Tuition fees average about 60,000, accommodation around 60,000 in Hatfield. They still have to eat, transport, and so it means for one child, at least average, you can pay at least 110 a year, or 150, let's say. So what if you have 3 children that are in university? Is it realistic that you can afford to pay for 3 children in university? I think it's unrealistic. So unless if maybe the families now don't have to eat because they're taking their children to school. I think it's very unfair. So families shouldn't have to choose between putting food on the table and educating their children. This is why the current system indirectly sustains poverty, and particularly in African homes, instead of breaking the cycle. And this thing of us having looking middlemen, and the middlemen, I think it's perpetuating a lot of corruption. Another issue is the use of third-party financial service providers who delay disbursement and even exploit students. If you steal from students, if you are a third-party financial service provider and you steal from students, I say to you, you must know that you are stealing the future of this country. A direct payment system must be introduced where government pays institutions directly, and just like any parent would pay for their child in the university, so that it can remove these inefficiencies and corruption that is being made by these third-party financial providers. The alternative models, if NSFAS cannot deliver, that then government, I think it should explore into alternatives like direct institutional funding, like I just mentioned, the state to university with allowance for students. Secondly, I propose sliding scale support based on actual household burden and not just income bracket. Public-private partnership, where business invest in bursaries in exchange for skills. Then they help to pay for the students' fees, the scholarships, the bursaries, and the students will, in exchange, come and work for their companies, and thus that will be addressing the graduates having no jobs. So it will be tit for tat. Also, community-based funding models where alumni and successful professionals contribute back into the education funds, which it will be my responsibility as a study finance officer to go and approach them and say, we have a problem in our university, our students are struggling, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'll close by saying free education is not charity. It's an investment in South Africa's future. I think, if I'm correct, it was, I forgot who said, I think I just forgot who it was who said a first duty of a revolution is to be educated. So an uneducated community is a very, very undeveloping community. So I don't understand why the government is not investing more in its education system and implementing free education for all that is not discriminative. A country cannot hope to grow when the majority of its youth are denied access to education simply because of where they were born, how much their parents earn, or prejudice of the household. Thank you.
Lungisani, you've heard what Itumeleng has had to say regarding some of the concerns that he has in terms of things like NSFAS and funding as a collective. He's mentioned stakeholders and alumni also coming in to intervene in terms of addressing this issue. Do you think that perhaps our anger as students is misdirected towards NSFAS, knowing very well that we have no say in terms of NSFAS, and in actual fact, students should be directing this towards the university and to you if you are elected into this portfolio? What do you think?
When it comes to our alumni, yes, I believe Mr. Mohale did actually mention a couple of issues that indeed are affecting us as students funded by NSFAS. And I actually believe that as students who actually qualify and are eligible to be funded by NSFAS, we actually have to sit down with NSFAS and with our institution to say, we as the students of the University of Pretoria, we have 1, 2, 3, we have these issues, and would like you as a scheme and as the Department of Higher Education to mitigate, to come up with solutions on how these issues that we are facing can be solved.
I want to interject you there. You know, given that the university, as both you and Itumeleng have mentioned, are aware of the fact that NSFAS sometimes pays students their allowances late, given that they're aware of other financial constraints that students face, do you think that a lot more should be done on their end? And how do you think you would be able to assist in that if you were elected in this portfolio?
Okay, so if elected, because I believe that one of the biggest issues, because sometimes when you go to the student center and say, I have this one issue with NSFAS, then they will say, okay, the issue is within NSFAS. And then when you contact NSFAS, they say the issue is within the institution. So I believe that the communication between the scheme and NSFAS and the University of Pretoria need to grow much stronger. A communication, they need to be very clear between these two.
Yeah. And Itumeleng, it seems like you had something to add.
Yeah, I believe my fellow candidate here did not answer the previous question. Well, can you repeat the question?
Given the fact that the university is aware of some of these financial constraints and is aware that NSFAS does sometimes pay students late, or pay
Not that
their
one,
allowances
the
late.
previous one before that one.
The
one
previous-
that you asked about, should the blame be on us and the university instead of NSFAS?
Instead of NSFAS, yes.
So I believe he did not necessarily answer the question, because I believe the response should be that as much as we carry a responsibility as the student financial, as the SRC, let me say, but we don't have money ourselves, and the university is also the blame cannot necessarily go to the university also, as it has the things that it has to support, the lecturers to pay, and etc. and etc. Hence the blame should be to the government and their systems and their NSFAS systems and everything. Hence, these third party financial providers are the ones that should be cut off, so that there is a direct accountability, so that we know that this year, for people that are doing education, people that are doing education are this much, and then the university will send the quotation to the government to say, this year we received so many students for each and every faculty, and we need so much and so much, and the government will pay directly. In that way, it will cut this thing of saying, no, the problem is with NSFAS. The NSFAS, when you call the NSFAS, no, you should contact your university. And the university when you go to NSFAS offices there, they can't help you with what's happening on your portal in NSFAS. So it means pretty much they're just not as useful to us, and we cannot blame them. We can blame NSFAS, since we need an NSFAS that is transparent, that will be held accountable, and we must establish a communication between us and them, so that we also will be able to go back to the students and saying, no, as we are facing this issue, this is what we got from NSFAS and this is what we are doing from NSFAS. We can only be held accountable if, instead of addressing it, we are running from the students and not telling them what's actually happening. We must be with the students, by the students, for the students.
I'm going to ask the final question, but before I do that, Lungisani, do you have anything to say with response to what Itumeleng has just said?
Yeah, I actually fully agree with Itumeleng. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. You know, the final question I have, and I actually think I'm going to pose this to Dumileng first. We know that the cost of living is just increasing, right? The cost of education is increasing, the cost of accommodation around campus is increasing. And as a result of that, salaries aren't increasing. So many other things that are supposed to contribute towards the cost of this isn't increasing. So I want to know from you, how would you engage with university management in addressing, you know, the issues in terms of fee structures? Because we just spoke about the first payment as one of the issues that students are currently experiencing, how some students can't afford that first payment at the beginning of the year. How would you aim to actually address that with, you know, management and possibly, I don't know, maybe you have other alternative measures in terms of bridging that gap. Who knows? Maybe you have a plan to provide to students who can't afford that first fee payment.
Thank you. Well, I love how you phrased the question. With the rising tuition and accommodation fees, I think there are not just numbers on a paper. There are barriers to access and success. As study finance officer, I would engage university management and I would engage the university management with a principle of transparency, demanding clear breakdowns of fee structure on students, understanding of what they are paying for, And with student bodies, I would foster collective consultation to ensure our advocacy reflects the realities of all students and not just a few. So that means that to the university, before we can go to the university, we need to consult with the students so that they can share with us what they are, the challenges that these fees are being posed on them. Because sometimes I think as leaders, we make a mistake of thinking we know what's best for the people. So when we say we must be with the people, that means you must consult them before you make any decision. Because before I can go and try to negotiate a less price, I must get there. And I think me consulting with everyone on the ground, I will get the full facts of more facts than the ones that I can just prepare on my own, of realities of the students, that I can go to the management and say, so are you allowing the students to be dealing with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whereas 1, 2, 3, whereas whatever can be avoided. And again, on affordability, I would push for innovative models such as flexible payment plan, partnership with private sector, bursaries, and expanded work-study opportunities. For that, we must strengthen debt counseling and repayment support system that prevent financial exclusion. Most importantly, I commit to ensuring SRC is not just a platform for political agendas, but a tool for student need, because education should never be a privilege, but a right. And again, before I can conclude, the reason I said I loved how you phrased the question is that often as students, or even as people, just individuals, members of the community, we often tend to say we do not want to be involved in these things of politics, electing who must be there to represent us. And because, who must be there to represent us, but forget that my abstinence from voting for a candidate that I believe will actually help us alleviate the problems that we are facing together with them, pose I don't know how to put it, but pose dangerous impact on us. They say you can avoid politics, but you can't avoid how politics impact you. So when we say to the students, we have an issue, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is happening, and some students, because they're not directly impacted, they abstain from being involved in that, in whatever. We're calling out to the students to be more engaging in issues that affect all students. I'm not saying go and support a certain political parties, because As much as I may rise under a particular banner, but my banner is not more important but above the people that I serve. I think I'll just lose it there. Thank you.
Lungisani, do you have any closing remarks based off of what Itumeleng has just said, and perhaps giving your own input on the question that we just asked?
Okay, so in conclusion, I would just say that, as Itumeleng has said, that as we will be elected by the students, it is very much important that we actually engage with the student, that the student actually engage with us. That is why I did actually promise that if elected, I will actually be on the ground, be with the student, so that I can have a clear understanding of the issues and concerns that students may have at that particular time, so that we do not go to the management and say that students 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not me thinking for the student, but the students coming to me and saying we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that we do not actually misrepresent the needs of our students. So it is very important that we call for the participation in these upcoming elections of our students, to say vote for the candidates that you actually think are capable and that you best feel that they will actually represent your needs fully.
Yeah, and you're quite right. It's quite important that students do vote in this SRC election on Wednesday. I'm going to give you each an opportunity to have a parting shot, of which you will each be allocated about a minute or so, just giving the student body a bit of an update or a reason as to why they should vote for you on Wednesday's SRC election. I'm going to start with you, Itumeleng.
Thank you for the opportunity. Please vote for me, because I'm committing myself to be with the students. That is to say, I'm going to involve the students in everything that I do. I'm not going to think on your behalf. We're going to do it together, because I feel like many leaders mischaracterize this thing of for the student, by the students, with the students. And I'm also committing myself to be by the students, which means that you are the one with the final say to elect me to be there. I'm going to be elected by you guys. And also, that means that when elected, just because I'll be wearing a blazer, that doesn't mean I will be better than you. I'll be there because of you, and hence I will respect you for that. And for the students, it means I'll be there as in the offices to address the student issues, your issues, to advocate for your interest as the students. Please vote for accountability, for transparency, and vote for capable leadership. Thank you.
Lungisani, why should students vote for you in this Wednesday's SRC election?
I believe that the students should actually vote for Lungisani Ngubeni because Lungisani Ngubeni has proven to the students as someone who has been with the students, who has always been on the ground with the students, who knows the needs, who have actually got a chance to engage with students on saying, I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues, and who has been able to come through for the students. So I believe that the students should actually vote for me, and to make sure that their votes actually count, and that we continue where we left off.
Itumeleng and Lungisani, thank you so much for taking time to participate in this debate. These are your two candidates for study finance in this SRC election. A reminder, the SRC elections for the University of Pretoria officially kick off this Wednesday, so be sure to make your vote and make your choice in this election.